To Print Your Games, the podcast about what's new and awesome in 3D printing for gamers. I'm your host, Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param, and I'm joined by...
Kristen, also known as Seventh Mastery.
And Kristen, you have got managed to arrange for a wonderful guest that I'm super hyped to have on the show.
Oh
Why don't you
yes,
introduce our guest?
this is our guest Duncan Shadow. You probably know the stuff from everywhere, but My Mini Factory, Patreon, everywhere. Cool. Hi Duncan, thanks for being on the
Hi,
show.
thanks for having us.
For anybody who doesn't know who Duncan Shadow is, first you need to absolutely check everywhere that makes me on his minis on them. You have been in making 3D printable minis longer than almost anybody else. Like some of the very earliest stuff I've found out there is your designs. Like with even when I was like before I got my resin printer, even when I was just trying to get my FDM stuff worked out, and I'm like seeing like, oh, you made weird sci-fi trucks that I can print.
Yeah, a lot of my stuff was actually made for FDM to start with because I didn't have a resin printer. Yes, long time now.
Awesome. So you made the transition. You designed stuff for FDM, and now you're designing stuff for resin. You've seen this industry grow pretty much from the get go. So why don't we start with the easy question? Is like, hey, how did you get into 3D printing anyway?
Originally, I used to like paint figures, and I got into a job where I was Magical Sculpting Studios. We used to make a lot of like the little Marvel sort of characters and the DC characters you get like every 2 weeks. You buy a magazine and get a little sort of figure with it. I was actually originally painting those, and that kind of introduced me to the sculpting side. Back then, everything was made in wax and then cast into resin, and I saw this sort of transition then into 3D printing. And yes, I sort of kind of moved into the toy making industry, where I saw the toy making industry had just started to shift. At the time, like a 3D printer was like 50 grand. So obviously, it was even like the big companies I was working for were shipping that out. They'll send the data off to elsewhere to get things 3D printed and sent in. But yeah, that's basically how I sort of started then, sort of moving into the 3D printing and started sculpting.
So with printers being 50 grand a piece, what was the first printer you brought in for yourself?
That was a Wanhao D7 Pro, I think it was.
How long ago was this?
Oh my goodness. 6 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that.
Well, that's geriatric in 3D printing talk.
In this industry, for sure, that's a ways back.
We're old timers, and we're just talking 2 years old.
I mean, the original printer, you need to just hook it up with a laptop. It had there was no USB sort of port in it. You had to buy a separate sort of box which had a little Raspberry Pi in it to put the memory stick in it to do it that way. So yeah, that was fun. And looking back, it was such a terrible printer.
Oh my gosh! We have one of our regulars in joining us in chat. Alex Shivler. Oh, early show. Hi. Yeah, we are recording a little bit earlier this week so that our guest doesn't have to be recording at 2 a.m. So sorry for any of our regular viewers that are a little bit surprised by the earlier show.
Sorry, that's all my fault.
No, we're very glad to have
any hour. Yeah,
and we're kind of learning that because so many of the artists that we really need to talk to is overseas, that we have to be a little bit flexible with the show time. But James is asking, where is it 2 a.m.? So where are you recording from, Duncan?
I'm in the UK. Yes, sunny England.
Miniature heaven.
Yeah, it's kind of the mothership.
Actually, I come from Woking. So obviously, that's where War of the Worlds was originally written and set. And that's where they produced the very first war game. It's kind of like the home of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And obviously now Nottingham is kind of Mecca.
Right. Well, speaking of, we talked about how you got into 3D printing. How'd you get into gaming? Have you always been a gamer?
Yeah, a long time. Actually, in like little school, someone found a old white dwarf in a second-hand like
Oh
shop.
yeah.
I remember I had like always like also little metal dwarves and goblins, and like the really really old trolls, which were like pre-scale miniatures. Yeah, and I absolutely fell in love. I mean, before that, I loved anything little, any sort of like little micro machines and that sort of stuff. So of course, when me and my friends saw these little toy figures, that's it. We were hooked at like 8 years old.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to save up a whole lot of lunch money to get a dwarf at 8 years old, though. That stuff ain't cheap.
Yeah, it took me a while to convince my parents to get me like a couple of figures, like I think like for birthday or something. I ended up painting them with my mum's acrylic paints, which were like out of a tube. It did not go well, and yeah, gluing like tiny little figures together, Araldite. So I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So
Oh wow.
yeah, it's great.
Do you
fun.
still have any of those? I'm just curious. I've seen a
Oh,
lot of
goodness,
people.
no.
Yeah, a lot of people hang on to them, but
I went through that phase when I was sort of 15, I think, where I sort of sold all my stuff. I needed to get a bike.
yeah.
Yeah, and then very quickly started getting back into it.
Nice. Yeah, I can definitely see in your. You definitely do have like an appreciation for some of the old school, I would say 90s era miniatures. Kind of reflects in your art style. Is that a fair, accurate statement?
Yeah, I think so. I heard that a lot from people as well, which I always take it as a compliment because I really like.
Oh,
that sort of
absolutely,
era.
it's a compliment. I love your style. You've got this like chunky, exaggerated style that nobody else has, and I'm absolutely here for it. And you go back and forth between like really grim, dark, like these like terrible trolls that just absolutely just like the most horrible nightmare inducing monsters going, and then like the very next month you'll release like cute raccoon folk, and I'm like, yes, finally somebody who speaks to me directly, with awesome little halflings, and then zombie frogs that give me nightmares for years.
So you got those dwarves and stuff. Did you play, 40K, or did you branch out to other games?
I mean, I was all into Warhammer to start with.
Yeah.
I actually started working for Games Workshop like much later when I think I actually started technically when I was 17, if I wasn't supposed to be working in the stores. But yeah, so I mean that's the first time I actually got into 40K.
So you worked in the stores like at a too young age? Is that what you said?
Yeah, you were supposed to be 18 too, like insurance, I think.
Okay. How did you finagle that? Just because you were a good painter?
I had a friend who's working in the stores, and then one of the higher up management for some reason took a shining to me and said, "Yeah, okay, you can." Because I was only like a couple of months off, so he's like, "Yeah, fine, get him in the stores." I just wasn't allowed to be left in the store alone. So, yeah, I only started as a kid.
I'm still not allowed to be left in the stores alone. So,
But yeah, I mean, so that's when I got into 40K, probably quite a big way.
Nice. What was your army?
Orcs.
Orcs,
Yeah,
huh?
love my orcs.
So what do you play these days? Like what games are like your go-to at the moment?
I don't get to play, unfortunately, very much anymore. Because I'm working like all the hours under the sun, and I've now got a little 8th month baby.
Oh,
so he keeps me up all night. Otherwise, me and my brother-in-laws were probably playing a lot of Full Thrust and Grunts 15 mil. I don't know if you really know those, or In Her Majesty's Name. There's another one. So it's a friend of mine actually created that one, and then Thud and Blunders, their fantasy version. So.
What are the games like? I mean, sounds like they're small scale. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, In Her Majesty's Name and Thud and Blunder are both sort of skirmish games. They've got like sort of whole point system where you can kind of create whatever you want, which is obviously like really appealed to me. So yeah, I could make my own stuff.
So like a lot of real indie stuff.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, so I said, so you like to play a lot of cool indie stuff?
Yeah. I think
might explain why you're creating minis that, like, even though they're definitely troop style minis, they aren't necessarily analogous to the standard armies with your animal folks and stuff. Like, because you can do it, you could field a whole army of like mousels and stuff, which I think is so cool and so crazy. But like there's not a lot of games that would support it. Of course, my brain would go to OPR, but what's this param you're pulling up?
I pulled up In Her Majesty's Name, and it's got a Yeti about to kung fu a British officer in a pith helmet, and I'm like, wow, what the hell is going on in this?
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like a steampunky game with it's a lot of character in it. It's very sort of British and comical. But well, yeah, I enjoy D&D otherwise. Mostly Pathfinder at 3.5.
Okay.
I have played a 5th edition.
That would be the exact order of my general gaming experience. Lots of PF1, 3.5, and then I actually even write stuff for PF1, 3.5, and then 5e is growing as it does, like a weed that cannot be stopped.
It's probably no surprise that I'm partial to the Pathfinder 1.3.5 era as well. So much appreciation there. Go ahead.
So I think I've got the Pathfinder 2 books. I haven't actually had a go at the game yet, but I'm just still so in love with the 1st edition.
I mean, it's not broken, so it's one of the things, because I know a lot of people right now are going through some pain over 1D&D coming out. And I keep telling them, no matter what happens, your old edition works just fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird. Somebody is going to fork. There's going to be like a sword and sorcery version of 5e out there, the one true 5th edition in a few years.
Oh, it's already happening. I mean, I think with I think of Level Up 5e, right, is already out there, and there's a couple others. So I think this game is going to go full community at this point. There's not it's not going to be able to be controlled. But the real question is, what do you play currently then? If you've been playing some Pathfinder, what are your characters like? That's what I want to know. Or do you DM?
I've never actually DM'd. Actually, no, I have done. Actually, a long time ago, and I was terrible at it.
Okay.
I was originally trying to
terrible at it.
I was trying to get into D&D. I mean, I think it's version 3. I mean, pre 3.5.
Okay.
But yeah,
everybody's terrible their first time. No worries there.
My favourite character would be my merfolk. I got the first one I actually got to sculpt a load of figures for. He was a merfolk alchemist.
Okay.
With a little bit of crossing into barbarian to get some extra movement.
So like a bomb chucking PF Pathfinder style alchemist, or something?
No, he was like a mutagen. Yeah, so I mean, I can sculpt a second figure. So like left ear for.
Do you actually have those? Are those minis something people can buy? I'm just curious. Did they get turned into products?
The merfolk is actually free on my Gumroad.
Okay. See, I never do this. I never go back and look at an established awesome creator and go, well, what do they have just kicking around for free? Because I'm always like looking at your, my I'm trying to find a deal, and instead of paying for something that, when there's a perfectly cool free thing out there. That's cool though that you made. So your PC is something free that people can just go download off Gumroad.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
I don't think I've ever released his alternate form. I've got the file somewhere. I should dig it out and pop it up online for some might enjoy it. So
you could turn that into a whole society, and your Patreon could have like a whole merfolk army that all like Jekyll's out. That'd be pretty sweet. Did he get all like anglerfish when he mutated? Did he get like big like sharp teeth or?
Yeah, he got the sort of sharp teeth and stuff. It's more. He's a little bit sort of crocodilian. Even though he probably should have been more anglerfish, really, because I've scared the hell out of my wife. It's one of her like biggest fears is anglerfish and viperfish.
Yeah, deep water fish are freaky.
They are, right? Yeah.
Oh, Param, we've lost your sound.
I think the other thing that you're real famous for, especially in your early days, is dinosaurs. You made so many dinosaurs. Are you also a dino fan?
Yes. Yeah, it's growing up, I always want to be a paleontologist.
Me too.
Yeah.
That was like the plan for a long time.
And listeners, this is important. Like a lot of people, when you say they have a dinosaur, they'll have like a T-Rex or a Brontosaurus or whatever. I could not, like, this is like a page and a half of listed stuff, and they're all available in multiple poses. So that's like king for any sort of gaming. You don't have to deal with just the one brachiosaur. There's multiple brachiosaurs.
Hey, he has a Styracosaur, so I'm all in. That was one of my favorites.
So how often is you? It has to be really cool to be like, I'm going to play a very uncommon heritage like merfolk and being able to just make exactly the model you want. You have to love being an artist. Yes.
Yeah, that is really nice to be able to do that.
How much of the stuff we see is just stuff you needed for games?
A surprising amount, actually. or stuff on the side. I think I might pick up a game and then I'll sculpt a load of stuff for it, and then try to convince friends to play. So,
that's been harder lately for sure.
Yeah. Last like a friend of mine has been trying to get me into Kings of War, so I've bought all the books. So a lot of my stuff more recently, I've been sort of thinking about what Kings of War armies I might like to play, and so yeah, I've been trying to do more stuff where you've got like a nice fleshed out army rather than just like a few figures here and there.
Kings of War is a wonderful game. I love it to pieces, and it is another one of those games that the 3D printing community is like really rallying behind because it's miniature agnostics even at their tournaments. So you can show up with a fully 3D printed army. In fact, a lot of people do, and it's just crazy. I'm fond of the one of the ones I really want to build is Order of the Green Lady, which is what if Bretonia crossed with wood elves, but crazy.
But crazy.
Yeah. Anytime you cross with wood elves, you automatically become crazy.
Well, they used to be so tame and boring, but I'm all here for the new era of wood elves for sure.
It's like they ride into battle alongside like earth elementals and like tree razor and then like a whole bunch of crazy naiads with hooks.
It makes sense with like being something like Fey-like, that whole like the hunt type sort of feel to them, that that darker sort of stealing children away element, and I think
I dig the Unseelie vibe for sure. Like that's neat.
Yeah, and the coolest part is like because they're all Fey nature-like, you can take for Pathfinder fans or any other wargaming fans, you basically get Pathfinder. You can put Pathfinder on your knights, which basically lets you ignore difficult terrain with your charging giant knight unit, which is just amazing.
This is a rule Pathfinder, not the game Pathfinder, to be clear.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. When you said Pathfinder like that, in the context of the previous conversation, I just didn't want listeners to get confused. So it is a trait from Kings of War.
Yeah, it lets you ignore difficult terrain, which is amazingly good in the game all about positioning.
Yeah, but
sorry for that random tangent there, Duncan.
No, it's cool. I mean,
all here for random tangents.
No. So when you were just getting started as a business, like you were getting into modeling stuff, you worked for GW, you were screwing around with early $50,000 3D printers. What made you make the jump to, hey, I can model stuff and sell it to random nerds on the internet?
I suppose a lot because I was working freelance then at one point. So I went from working in businesses, and when the recession hit, a lot of companies went under. A lot of the big toy making companies over here in England, anyway. So I ended up going freelance and working for smaller companies, doing stuff like Steamforged games. Did a bit of work for Mantic actually as well. And then I kind of thought, why not just like give it a pop? I started seeing more and more people getting their own 3D printers. I always, for years, I've been saying like this is going to change the industry. I could kind of see that change happening, so I thought, might as well get in and right at the beginning.
So you mentioned like Steamforged Games and Mantic. So you made some models that they produced.
Yeah.
Is there any models we might be familiar with?
What was I stuff doing for? I think Mantic. I was working on the it wasn't zombie side. It was Walking Dead. I think it's a board game. Is it a Walking Dead board game? No.
Okay, yeah. Walking Dead board game. All about war.
The comic. It's based on the comics, wasn't it, rather than the series? And the Dark Souls stuff for Steamforge.
Ooh,
that's cool.
Okay, I bought that Dark Souls stuff.
I mean, I did like the mushroom people. It's a big old knight with like a sword across his back. I don't actually know like half the Guardian Dragon. I remember that one. The one I did. So there's a lot of the expansion stuff I did.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was fun.
I mean, yeah, the Dark Souls miniatures are beloved, so that's a great little feather to have in your cap as being part of that effort, for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good fun. I got to work with Russ Charles. He's like their head sculptor. He's a really lovely guy. And yeah, I ended up becoming friends as well. They're like their 3D printer. So a guy called H, he did like all of their 3D printing stuff, and I ended up becoming friends with him. So yeah, it's nice. He's given me lots of advice as well about 3D printing and stuff. He's an old master at it.
And you mentioned that your earlier work, you actually we're looking at, you actually designed it for FDM. So I guess this was before resin printing was possible at the house.
Yeah, it's all done on a FlashForge Find, all my original stuff. So I think it's why I've got a slightly chunkier style, because I was used to trying to get sort of 30mm figures printing on an FDM printer. So everything ended up being scaled up a little bit and sort of made a little bit more chunky.
So with the transition from FDM to resin, like that, how did that impact your workflow? I'm kind of curious. Like, do you still want everything to work for FDM, or have you moved a little bit beyond that now?
I've definitely moved beyond it, because I mean, everyone's got resin printers now, so I'm always thinking sort of like resin first now.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Basically,
probably stays with me a little bit, just that sort of thinking about FDM. But I think it seems like just two different sort of worlds now. If you're doing some terrain or something, I'll be thinking like FDM. But otherwise, everything else, I'm just always thinking resin now. How am I going to add the supports to it? Is it going to look crisp? Especially now, I've got an EPAX X10 as well. So even now, like bigger figures are so much easier on a resin printer.
You do. One of the things you are famous for is your giants, and I just mentioned dinosaurs and tanks. You do tend to like the big things, don't you, Duncan?
Yeah.
What is it about the giant models that coming off your printer that attracts you? Because most people I look at, it's all focused on like little 1-inch human-sized 28mm figures or 32mm figures.
I haven't got a clue, to be honest. I don't know where it's come from. It's like when I was growing up, I was always more into like the smaller stuff. But so more recently, it's just been moving more and more towards the big stuff. I think a lot of people seem to like it, and some like the big sort of Titans and stuff I've been doing. Obviously, you could use those for GW. I mean, that's like a £100, $120 figure. But you can print it
at the low point. At the low point, some of them are way more than that even.
Yeah, I love this giant. This is one that when you released it, I snatched it up like right away. It's probably the coolest looking hill giant I've ever seen.
Yeah, for people listening, it's so big. It's basically got like its armor on its tummy is a ladder.
Yeah,
it's huge.
This isn't D&D hill giant. It fits on a 2-inch square base. This is. You need a 4-inch square base easy, and it's going to have its toe sticking off the edge of it at an upright pose.
With something like this, did you test print it yourself, or did you farm that out, or how did that happen? Do you just do it in all the sections yourself?
That I test print. That was one of my sort of last ones I was still doing for FDM. So I printed all that out. I actually sculpted it with FDM in mind. So I mean, if I redid it now, I'd probably add even more detailing because the resin printer can handle it. But that original, I printed it out in FDM. Although I've just recently, see that? I've recently done it in resin. So I've gone.
Oops.
It didn't break.
We used to have it.
I used to have it.
James asked how tall it is.
180mm, I think this one is.
Big boy.
It's 8 inches. Yeah. So I know it's about 100. It's about 20 centimeters, 200 millimeters.
Did he break? I'll be so sad.
I did. I broke his arm off.
Oh,
His hand.
so sad. I'm so
Well,
sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I just super glued this one fairly quickly, and that super glue was going a bit gunky and old.
Yeah.
Actually, I find now with big prints using cardboardy filler works really well. Just sort of put a little bit on one side, let it go a little bit tacky, and then push it together. It sets really quickly, and as it sort of pushes out any of the gaps, and you can just trim it away while it's still sort of rubbery with your scalpel.
So
and it fills
what kind of filler are you talking about here?
Cardboardy filler. So,
This is not a product I'm familiar with.
maybe that sort of stuff.
Body filler. It's for cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost like a two-part mix. I find out
over here in the States we'd call it Bondo.
Oh, right.
Okay, yeah. Right. I never thought about using auto filler on my parts. That's a great idea.
I mean, originally you see it in some model making just to like fill gaps, and it sands down really nicely to a really nice smooth finish. I started finding like I'll put things together with it and it'll be glued better than if it was been super glued. So I started using it as glue as well. So,
you said
it fills
it's
all the gaps.
Two-part activation. Does it stay good for a while once it's activated, or how's that work?
Depending on how much you activate you put in it, you've got sort of 10-20 minutes to work with it.
Okay. So
and then, and it starts to go rubbery and then sets like stone.
Huh.
Awesome. So what do you like? You've been doing this forever. So what did you get started modeling in, and what do you use now?
I started in ZBrush actually. It's like ZBrush 2.5 when I first got it. So it was back then. It was about 250 quid. It's about, I think it's over $1,000 now. So like I've got lots of free upgrades. Now I was working for a company called Designworks. We did all the Doctor Who toys.
Oh, cool.
And
so what's that like, designing toys? We've not had anybody who was from the toy industry before.
It's all right.
All right.
It's funny because you've got to work for like big companies, so there's always a lot of backwards and forwards. So it's a lot more fun working for yourself because you have a design you want to do. You know, you can get on and do it. You can show it to your patrons, whatever. You know, you get a bit of feedback. But it's very different when you've got to send it off and things will go to actors, and they'll sort of say, "No, my nose doesn't look like that." And you're like,
"Wait a minute."
From a scan.
Is this why the dinosaurs came from? Was this just like a project someone stiffed you on? Like Mattel was going to do a cool dino line, and you got them lying around anyway.
Yeah, just right. That's it. I'm going to do it myself.
That's crazy. You had to get the approval from actors. That's like I could see some people being a little sensitive about how they're portrayed.
Yeah, the company I was working for, they used to use, I think it's Freeform. It had like this big old haptic arm and stuff. Used to use for sculpting.
Oh wow!
And they went out to America and they started to team up with Gentle Giant, and Gentle Giant had just like it's like a whole room full of ZBrush. So of course, then they came back to England and went, "We want to get someone interested in ZBrush. Is anyone willing to give it a go?" So I bought a copy and started teaching myself at home in the evenings. And that's how I sort of kind of got into it. And been using ZBrush ever since. So.
Now, before the show, you said you were experimenting with Mesh Mixer and Blender now?
Yeah. So I started trying to muck around with like Mesh Mixer. It's free, just for like kit bashing. So I kind of figured I absolutely adore it when you see people that take like multiple figures and make something like what they want. I mean, I've always liked kit bashing anyway. It's like, going through your bits box is always like a big part of the hobby. And now the fact you do that digitally, it's just, it blows my mind.
It's wild to me that you'd be into digital kit bashing because you could just, like, your brain could just, like, imagine and make anything you ever wanted, and you're still into digital kit bashing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't see someone just digitally kit bash your own stuff. If you want to, like, make a little figure just for, like, a friend or something, a particular D&D character or something, or... But also, I want to see what other people can do with these programs, especially the free programs. Just I want to see more people do that sort of digital kit bashing. So I thought if I can learn a bit of it, so I can help encourage people.
So it doesn't bother you
Nice.
if people kit bash your models?
Oh no, I absolutely love it. Yeah,
That's cool. Some
And you
people are a
started
little more
making.
sensitive about it. Sorry, Pam.
Sorry, you started making a lot of your models even modular, and for a kit basher, that's gold. That means like, oh, I can get this hand and this head, and I'm going to grab this Terminator file from Puppets War, and then take your Kitsune Fox head and shove into it, and suddenly I've got real space wolves.
yeah, yeah. I heard that some people have been using like printing out the little fox heads and put them in Space Marines and stuff, and yeah, absolutely love it. Yeah,
Awesome. I'm glad that you're all about that. You definitely seem to be all about the art too. You love doing this. I love this.
yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, I have to really. I get quite obsessed about things. So I mean,
Mhm.
originally I started learning, I was working like 12-hour shifts, and then coming home learning like ZBrush until the early hours, and then get a few
Oof.
hours and back to work. And I've
Mhm.
never really stopped. I'll still, if my wife will let me, and my little boy, I'll work 60 hours in a day. Just absolutely love sculpting. Just yeah.
Yeah. Is this your full-time gig now, or are you still doing other stuff?
Oh no, this is my full-time gig. Yeah, it has been for a while.
Very cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So
You also.
But-
Sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna start a whole thing. You have a probably nearer topic, I bet.
I was going to transition to. You were one of the people that made the big transition over to. I've been talking about it for a while now with the more boutique style release thing. Your Patreon is now like a small set of nice quality miniatures at $5 a month right now. What
Yeah.
made you decide to make that transition over there to that model?
I've seen like the industry sort of being sort of changed. When I first started, there was not very many people doing this. Obviously now I think the industry's getting quite like saturated. And there's a lot of like really big companies producing just like dozens and dozens of figures, like really high quality figures as well every month. And if their price points are $10, I kind of think I don't want to have to try to compete with them. And I started producing like 30 figures a month plus like multi-part kits. And I kind of figured actually I want to change what my Patreon is. I want it to be more like just a small community where people can kind of buy me a litre of fuel or buy me a beer each month.
Nice.
It's just more of a community. It's less about like trying to get the maximum money out of my patrons, and more about just having that sort of little community.
Well, and at that smaller price point, I have no problem. Like, even if I'm not always excited about a release at $5, I'm like, okay, it's going to be useful. He does good stuff. And so I just leave it. I don't even consider kicking it out at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Where a lot of these people, I have to be like, okay, this is a $15 Patreon. Can I afford to keep that this month?
Yeah.
And it's a huge loyalty thing for me that I'll hang on for more there. Alex has a specific question in chat.
Alex.
Leagues of Votan coming out, confirmed for September release. Do you have old school squat models for printers? And if not, when will they be available?
Gosh, everybody is jumping on the Votan lately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'm going to really upset people. I never liked squats very much.
Shots fired.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I've had like sort of all my friends love obviously the dwarves and the space dwarves and what's not to like, but I don't know why. I just never really got on with them.
Mm-hmm.
I might be because I love the orcs so much. I don't know.
So what about what you do sculpt? You definitely lean more towards the fantasy than the sci-fi. You said you really love 40K, but you sculpt a whole lot of fantasy.
Yeah. I'm not sure where it's probably because Warhammer being my first love. I think Warhammer became my first love from like when I was really young. My dad read me Lord of the Rings, and of course, as soon as I got a bit older, I then read it for myself. And yeah, so I always really loved that sort of fantasy world. It's weird. I mean, I do also really like mecha. I think it's all like Gunpla type stuff, but it's never really sort of. I've really done any sort of sculpt. I've done a few bits of sculpting like that, but
clearly you need to make fantasy mix.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm here for that. Big crystal armor stuff. I will be your boy. Speaking of great old things, though, have we mentioned the Frontier in the room yet?
Oh no!
I don't know that
Right
we
now, you're running a
have.
big campaign, a
Yes.
big tentacle filled campaign. Tell us a little bit about your mythos monster campaign.
Yeah, so it's like a big old collection of Lovecraftian beasties.
You've got a Cthulhu that's tall enough to live up to the name, and the scariest Cthulhu I think I've ever seen because he looks half demon. And
Yeah,
I just love that you've got like this little peasant woman with a bucket, just like really ticked off and walking away, like he ruined her harvest or some nonsense.
I think he's going to do more than ruin her harvest. Thing is massive. The tentacles are just kind of almost like a beard all down its front, but yeah. And that
I'm used to like the GW when they used to use that running away peasant model to show scale on all their big models, and the ticked off peasant girl is definitely a better vibe for that.
And the Nyarlathotep there is amazing. Just the spiral twisting tendrils, and it's just so good.
So you like the Cthulhu?
I do. It's actually my friend Matt from Tabletop Ready. He does like it's like a painting service. He's actually a teacher. I gave him all my old printers for his students. He's actually one who got me into Lovecraft. He gave me his like tiny little. I've still got it on my shelf somewhere actually. Little beat Call of Cthulhu. And he's put all his little sort of tags in all his like favourite stories. And yeah, I just absolutely devoured it. And this is like, I don't know, 20 years ago now. There's always been something about it, like sort of cosmic horror and just the utter doom of it all. It just really appealed.
The utter doom of it all really appealed.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That's an existential horror of just, inversion of like you also see humans being the dominant predator on the planet, and all of a sudden this realization we're not even a speck of dust, that there's these things so much more vast than us. I really enjoyed that. I've got that's my
ooh.
Here, don't drop that, please. Don't drop that.
Bigging you here for a second. Hold that up again. So you
should be right.
Did you paint that, or did your friend paint that?
I painted this one. I did ask if he's got any places for like commissions, but unfortunately he was too busy. Mm-hmm. He's just started a new job actually with sort of underprivileged kids.
Oh,
they're
darn color transitions on that are amazing.
A Cthulhu.
Greens and purples and pinks and stuff. I know our listeners can't see it, but that thing's phenomenal. Hopefully we'll get a link to an image of it.
Nice. So you're still into doing the painting part of this hobby?
Yeah. I don't get to do it as much as I like. I would like to. I mean, it's the painting that actually got me into the hobby and everything in the first place. And also I started out with, painting the Doctor Who figures and stuff as well to be sent off to China. Did all the originals and all the stuff like the press releases. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's nice. It's getting to do a bit of painting.
So what's your style now? What's your product? You mentioned that you started with like tube acrylics and that didn't go well. So what's your painting like?
So I use acrylics, but like proper model acrylics now. That was scale color.
Okay.
They'd released like a big old box set. It is tubes. They're kind of going almost back to my original. They did a Kickstarter a while ago, a big box set of all their new like proper model colors and tubes. So that's painted with those and contrast paints. Although the original contrast paints, I saw your program the other day. You saying about the new ones are tasty.
Oh yeah, the new yellows are just nuts.
It's amazing. Like I was just using it to do Thread Green for Spelljammer, and it's right here. I am so impressed by its power. Yeah. The Imperial Fist is what it is. Not to mention seeing yellow armies coming out like all over social media now that actually look yellow.
Yeah. Yellow would be really tough color.
Yeah. When you go look at any paint service or commission service, and they'll charge you extra if you want a yellow model.
It's true. You need so many more coats usually.
Yeah, like Like I was painting for my sister. I was painting up this space wolf, and it took like 4 coats just to get a yellow shoulder pad.
I remember starting out. I used to spray everything black. Just paint everything up from black, and try and do. I used to put like yellow, like something sunburst yellow straight over black, the old one. And I was really like an awful green mess.
This
Oh my
this
gosh.
thread green is single coat. Oops, sorry.
Wow, single coat.
Single coat yellow from that stuff.
Yep.
Blows my mind.
I remember we started for a while. A lot of people started doing pink. There's I think the colour's actually tintillating pink. So it'd be white, tintillating pink, and then yellow over the top of that to get that nice bright yellow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no need for any of that anymore.
But you could still do it with pink. I've done it with I did follow the Goobertown hobbies thing where you start with the pink base coat and then put a white zenithal over it, and then you put the yellow over top of that, and it goes from bright yellow to deep orange because pink turns orange with the yellow contrast paint. That looks glorious.
Yeah.
But no, yellow depresses me as a color, so I stay away from it. And the fact that it frustrates me for hours painting.
Yellow depresses you as a color?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't stand the color.
Renowned for being a very depressing color.
Mm-hmm.
I think of like canaries and candy. Where does your head go?
like 70s deco that needs to die 1,000 deaths.
Actually, something else I found with the contrast paints, because they dry quite nice and slowly. It's quite easy. You can do a nice sort of wash over stuff and then get a makeup sponge and sort of wipe it off, and you get a really nice sort of extra highlight on stuff.
That's what I tried that. That's a nice trick.
I used to do that with oil paints. I used to start painting a figure, spray it with gloss paint to seal it all in, and then put oil paints over the top and then sort of wipe them away. Because they dry so slowly, you've got loads of time to work with them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Alex in chat says, this is why my craft world is Uthway, not Leandon. I'm sure the 40K fans understood that.
Yeah.
I'm not. I really want to
probably a little deep for me.
My 40K knowledge is weak, y'all. Like I'll chat up the old world all you want. I mean, Carl Franz and is my bro, but I don't know much about craft worlds.
That's a good game.
I'm just saying before we leave.
Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry.
I think before we leave, a little bit. You were saying.
I was going to say that's a game I'd really like to play.
I was saying before we.
Kristen, go.
I was just saying before we leave the campaign, I just wanted to point out that we're almost to the Migo ad, and I love me some Migos. So everybody, we got 6 days to unlock Migos. Please help us out. We need the Migos. I would like the Star Spawn too, but I'll take the Migos. Hopefully we get the Star Spawn as well. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
One of my favorite things about this campaign, though, that I think more people need to know is this stupid discounts for your back catalog you can get into after you pledge in. Like the Mousels, I love your Mousels, and you can get the whole Mousel gang for $15. You can get those cool giants we were talking about for $30. Heck yeah.
Okay, it's at this point that I was looking at stretch goals and I didn't actually see the discounted bundles. Damn you. there goes some more.
There's a whole $10 for a 3 Kreen Uber set. Don't you like 3 Kreen?
Oh, I do, and I also
Kaiju
see
bundle
some sort of floating.
$7.50.
I see a floating eyeball, so there's that too. I do love the floating eyeballs. I guess we
Animal
can call them
bundle.
beholders,
That's a great choice.
about being sued.
You've got so many. Like your back catalog is deep. It like just about any kind of you. I put it in the title of the episodes, but like zombies, tentacles, and demons seem to be also features that you do well. Plus fish folk, but I guess that goes with the tentacle thing.
Well, and it ties back to that, Lovecraft, right? Yeah, tentacles. That's what you meant. I'm under
and the
caffeinated
other
tonight,
thing, you
people.
do a lot of animal folk. What's up with all the animal folk? Like, it's awesome,
It's
but like, you're definitely one of the first places to go to if I want insert name of animal in any weapon combination I need it.
Well, it was a bit of a passion project. It was just I really liked like Warship Down and stuff when I was growing up, like like Red Wall and that sort of stuff. Yeah, so it's just and Mouse Guard as well. Got comics up there.
Okay,
Yeah,
that explains the Mousels, especially.
Yeah.
That's actually how I found you first. Was for the little animal folks I needed. Well, actually, in some chaos bases, I did get chaos bases from you really early on too. But yeah, the mouse guard. I have a friend who's playing a mouse archer who rides an owlbear, and
nice.
I got your mousel archer, and that is the mini for that character.
Oh, brilliant!
You've got corgi folk.
Yeah, one of those actually is based on my friend's dog.
Nice.
Yeah, the one with the ear down. It's I think you might have heard of him, Tarot Model Maker. He does a lot of Imperial Knight stuff, like these sort of add-on kits.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, he's got a corgi, Monty. So that's why I did the corgis.
Probably the first person I've ever seen that has battle hedgehogs.
We've got a hedgehog in our garden as well. He sometimes gets fed some cat food.
So and why is the mouse riding a chicken?
I don't really know. I don't know quite what I was thinking. I was chatting to my wife about owlbears, and we kind of the conversation went on to like the idea of a chicken bear, and so she was like, "You really chicken bear," and so yeah, so I did one. And I thought, yeah, I'll have a squirrel on the back, little squirrel bard. Why not? So, yeah, I'm not sure how many people really need a chicken bear in their life, but my wife appreciates it.
Especially one squirrel bard.
Yeah,
it's really close to what I just talked about. I don't know. There is a market here.
There absolutely is. Yeah, a lot of my friends love your animal folk minis for sure, and also. The chicken bear squirrel bard is on the caliber of those minis like the frost giant mammoth rider that because it exists you need to then make an excuse to use it in your campaign. So there absolutely will be some drunk squirrel bard appearing in my next D&D game riding a chicken bear. James is saying the same thing. Now that I know it exists, I do.
Oh.
So we've talked about the past and we've talked about the present. What is the future for Duncan Shadows? What are you hoping to accomplish next?
Oh, goodness knows. Sculpt more. Keep sculpting. Always sculpt until the day I die.
I don't think we could stop you.
No. One of the problems I have is I like so much stuff. I just, I want to do everything all at once. I know, really, what I should do is concentrate, on a little niche and stick to that so everyone knows me for that thing. But I just want to do everything.
I think people know you for variety, though. That's the thing I think of is literally it's like, okay, I can check this person, I can check this person, or I could just go look at Duncan stuff and see, like, because there's so much there. And with that variety coming, you got Planescape and you got Spelljammer just came out. Planescape's come out in some months. If you want to go weird, you got an audience for weird. Is all I'm saying.
Speaking of weird, we have a request from Alex. I'm still holding out hope that the Big Bird Lord of Change is coming soon.
That's awesome.
Could we make Big Bird super creepy? I mean, Big Bird's a little bit creepy anyway, isn't he? So, I mean, that could work.
Snuffleupagus could be reworked into a Chaos War Mammoth easy enough.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, Planescape just got announced on the 19th. Duncan, just so you're aware. Awesome. Coming out for 5e/1D.
Loves the planey stuff.
I do. I'm so excited. It's gonna get me back in the fold for sure.
Oh, we've got a good question in chat from James. Do you have a recommendation for a tool that is best if you for a new wannabe sculptor? So what is the starter kit for I want to make a mini?
I would actually go with ZBrush. I mean, obviously the full kit of ZBrush is expensive, but they've got a free version, so you can sort of pick that up and sort of start playing with that. And then they've got, I think it's called ZBrush Core, which is like the next stage up. But that actually has everything you need in it to do sculpting for 3D printing. So yeah, I'll probably go with that. And of course, then obviously if you start, really getting into it, you can then buy the full version and just slowly upgrade through the packages.
What about interfaces? Drawing screen, VR headset, really good mouse. Like what are the hardware you need?
I use a Wacom tablet.
Okay.
I used to use a Cintiq, which is like a big touchscreen monitor. I actually quite like now having like a really huge monitor and the tablet, because it means your hand's not in the way of the sculpt, so you can actually just see the sculpting around all the time.
So you actually prefer the non-visual display tablet?
Yeah.
I found that really hard to work with, so I'm impressed because I have to see it when I'm like noodling with it to do stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like I'm actually podcasting on a Cintiq right now, but for that purpose.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've got it on a flex arm, so like it's right here that I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
Looking at you, and then I can, when it's time to sculpt, I bring it down and it comes in front of me at desk level.
Yeah. I mean, I used to have a Cintiq. It was just like it was on the actual stand, so it sat on my desk. There was no other room on my desk then. But I quite like now. I've got like a big 40-inch curved screen monitor now.
Ooh.
And I've got in a second monitor as well.
Have you tried the VR sculpting?
I haven't.
It's so good. You should give it a shot. I don't say it's going to be productive, but it's fun. It's so fun.
It does look really fun. I'll be a little bit worried my wife's going to find me just in the corner with that just on my never coming out of VR.
That's okay. You can sculpt a new wife.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no. My wife's a redhead. She's not having that. She'll get violent.
Awesome.
So if I'm in it too long, she'll just poke me with a stick until I come out.
So we're coming up on time. Where can people find you? What do you want to draw their attention to? Obviously, on Tribes on My Mini Factory, there's the Mythos Monsters campaign. Go check that out for sure and support that. That's a cool way to get a whole lot of minis, especially if you then further chip in and get these stupid discounts on these back catalog to go with your Cthulhu collection.
People find me all over the place. I'm pretty much everywhere. Obviously, My Mini Factory, Patreon, got Tribes on Facebook, Instagram. Recently started with Twitter, very, very recently. Still don't understand that social media.
Well, Goobertown Hobbies has explained it very well. Twitter is for gathering a following so you can sharpen your shiv and get it bigger.
I definitely struggle with it too, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, for someone who I spend all my time on computers all day, but I really struggle with technology somehow. So social media and phones are the bane of my life.
Awesome. And with that said, if you want to get in touch with us and follow more about the podcast, you can go over to printyourgames.com where you'll find all of our back episodes. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcast, Amazon Podcast, all the places the podcasts are. I made sure it took a while to get us on all of them. What's up?
I was just going to say the quick shout out if I have a sec.
Go for it. Shout out.
September, Paint September Teal. It is a awareness drive. Hashtag Paint September Teal for ovarian cancer. User on TikTok, Gemis Magica started it. And it's going to be a whole mini community painting thing. Just hashtag for, wherever you're at, IG, wherever. And just try to include teal in your color scheme. I'll be doing it, and I know a lot of other creators are jumping on it. So I think it'd be a fun thing to do for community and drive some awareness of a type of cancer that not a lot of people know about.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely be getting painting something for that as well. It definitely sounds like a wonderful project.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Find
No,
us
no,
on
it's good.
printyourgames.com and everywhere else.
We're on Facebook at facebook.com/printyourgames, Twitter at twitter.com/printyourgames. We're over on YouTube at youtube.com/param. Yeah, that one's weird. Sorry, gang.
Eh.
And you can find us at all the other places. The best way you can help the show is by giving us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice, or if you're watching us on the YouTubes, by subscribing to us there, giving us a like, or leaving a comment on this video. Like the weird tentacle monster, or how much you want the Big Bird Lord of Change. Until next time, I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param.
I'm Kristen Sowards, also known as Seventh Mastery. Don't forget to use your screen protector.
Mm-hmm. And our special guest is Duncan Shadow. Thanks, Duncan, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.